Connecticut. He's expanded to Massachusetts. He's basically worldwide domination. He sells over 500 homes a year. But he had, like myself, Nathan, you had very humble beginnings. I'm looking at your bio here. You were working on a cruise ship before you got into real estate. Talk to us about how you take the leap from sweeping floors on a cruise ship to getting into real estate.
Well, yeah. So I was about 19 years old. I was laid off. I was making the newspaper. I got laid off, made the Providence Journal, and I got laid off. And before I got laid off, you did a lot of reading the newspaper, and I saw an ad for the cruise ship. And I said, well, I really haven't seen much of even New England. Why not go see the rest of the world? And I took a job on a cruise ship, and I was really surprised that they hired me because up to that time, I never even stepped on a boat. And they did ask me if I was ever on a boat before, if I got seasick, and I said no, and they still hired me. So
perfect training for real estate.
Yes, and so that's where I learned how to hire people. But that was a cool job. We went all the way up through Canada, all the East Coast, and down to Panama, where I was able to quit. I jumped off the boat in Panama, and I backpacked Central America for a little bit. And that's really where I learned I wanted to get into real estate. After going poor,
it sounds like you're adventurous. It sounds like you're adventurous. So how did you get into? How old were you at the time you got into real estate, and why real estate? Why did you decide to go into real estate?
So my dad did it my whole entire life. I grew up in the business, and that's really what probably as a kid was the last thing I wanted to do was get into real estate. But as I started working jobs, other jobs. I quickly learned that I had a gold mine of information behind me, something that could really teach me the ropes when I got in. And when I was, like I said, 20, I got licensed. But when I was working on the boat was really where I realized, I have a future in real estate. Why don't I, really dive into that and learn as much as I can from the man? And so I came back kind of the prodigal son and said, Dad, I want to get into real estate, which was also a funny story because at that time, my father said I couldn't get into real estate. He said I need to go learn rejection. So he made me go sell automobiles. So I had to go sell cars. I did that for a summer, learning sales, learning rejection. There's lots of rejection in car sales. And that was at 20, I got my license. I was getting my license at the same time. I came out as a licensed realtor. So I do everything because they gave me a license.
Well, that's super young, 20 years old. So you've got your father's experience. So what was that like the first couple of years in real estate? How did that go? And like, what was your approach? Basically, your dad was saying, do this, do this, do this, or you were just trying to figure it out on your own?
My father, I don't know if you remember Tom, now I'm forgetting his name now because we're live. But we did training. I remember we did some training, some sales training. And I can remember.
Probably Tommy Hopkins.
There you go. Tommy Hopkins. I can't believe I forgot. It was the limelight that got me there. So Tommy Hopkins, we do training in the garage during the week. We listen to tapes. He had to get a tape player. And CDs were well out by that point, but we still had tapes. And we listened to some tapes. And I learned from him the technical aspect. But I remember he did very well in his career. He started young like me, and he found Tom Hopkins, and he followed Tom Hopkins. And the advice to my father was, you need to find someone that is cutting edge, that is killing it, and go copy what they do. And that really put me in the direction to finding you, Craig. I remember I looked in the back of, we used to get these magazines, the Realtor magazines.
That's right. Yeah.
There was a testimonial on the back, and it was a testimonial about. I remember he drove his truck into his first listing appointment, but he had to park the other way because it had a scratch along the side of it. He was embarrassed to people to see it. And that's what his career was like before he met you. And now he sells 500 houses a year. And that was his career after and what you were able to do to him. And I said, I think I found the guy, Dad. He's got a conference in Arizona, and I'm going to go check him out. So I flew out to Arizona, which was only my second time I was on a plane.
That was probably 2003.
Yeah, about 2003. Yep. It was about my second time on an airplane. So went out to Arizona, had a great time. And I remember listening to you speak out there, showing the team model, showing the hiring process, how to build a team, how to sell. I think you were doing how many houses? 600-700 houses a year at that time?
That's right. Yeah. That would have been right in the prime of my real estate career, probably 500 to 600 homes a year. What were you doing in production at that time when you first met me?
I did my first year, I did 24, 25 transactions. And
Okay.
that was primary from open houses.
So when did you make this leap in thinking, uh, in thinking from like, I can do 15 or 20 transactions, or I can do hundreds of transactions? And when did you make that decision? I need a team.
After seeing your team and seeing what really impressed me the most, Craig, is that you were doing your super conference. You were teaching us, right, how to build a team while you had a team back home selling 700 houses a year. Just so people are watching this too. I mean, there's teams that do 700 transactions a year now more than ever. But back in 2003, 2004, there was no one doing anywhere near those kind of numbers. There was no Zillow. Zillow hasn't been invented yet. There was no really internet wasn't that big. This was 700 homes. That would be like compared to probably today 5,000 houses. I think real estate's a lot easier with the internet and things like that. But when I could see you doing that, then I was like, that's what I want. And this is the guy. And I remember I called my father. I said, I found the guy.
Found the guy. Awesome.
Found the guy.
Okay. So you go back home to Rhode Island and you've got this vision now. You've been to my conference. You've got this vision and you start to build out your team. So we were talking before we get started and I wanted you to share some of those growing pains because, it's not just as easy as saying, hey, I want to grow a team. And we were talking about some of the mistakes we made. And you said, well, one of the mistakes is, like once you made the decision you wanted to grow your team is kind of acting out of impulse and hiring people too quickly and not having a proper process to vet them. So let's talk about that. Like, what is your process for hiring people today? And I also want to talk about the order that you grew this in. So like you didn't start off by hiring a whole bunch of people. You started off by hiring one, and what did they do? And then how did you make the decision to hire the second person and what did they do? Like, I want to start from the very beginning, the mistakes you made and how you grew this thing out. And how many, let's fast forward to how many team members do you have right now?
We're about, I believe 50 or 51 team members total.
Okay. So obviously we're not going to go through all 51, but there's positions, right? This is a position dependent business. So Nathan has designed positions. He has position contracts. So if someone was to leave him, it's I'm not going to say easy, but it's not as difficult as it used to be replacing somebody because you've already got the position designed and you're just trying to find the right person for the position versus in the beginning, it was sort of a people dependent business because you were trying to base this around you'd hire a person and try to make the job fit around the person instead of the other way around. So you get growing up this team. Let's talk about what you learned during this journey.
Yeah, so it's been 18-year journey, 19-year journey now. So there's a lot to learn, and I try to bury the bad things that happen or the bad lessons we have to learn. But as we say, you don't start off with 50 people on your team. What I started off with, the first person I hired was a buyer's agent. And then the second person I hired was my wife. And that's really where we started was bringing pretty much the buyer's agent and my wife on at the same time. But I think just to back up, Craig, my biggest vision with why I wanted to build a team was I wanted to be a business owner and I didn't want to be an operating agent. So people that are watching this, Craig, that don't want to build a team, they want to keep on doing things all by themselves. I get that. I was not that way. I really wanted to be the entrepreneur that had a business that ran, that I could do things in my life and not have to always be tied to a cell phone.
Sure. So everybody gets that, right? Many of you watching this who are attracted to my way of thinking and doing things, you want to be the business owner. You don't want to have a job as a real estate agent. And what Nathan is saying is if you're happy, you're content being a solo agent, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. So we're not here to tell anybody, hey, you should grow a team. But Nathan, you projected yourself into the future. You said, "Hey, I think there's more to this than being a solo agent. Wouldn't it be great if I had a business that operated without my, constant involvement, and it's scalable?" Probably one of the things that you heard me say at the conference back in 2003 is on stage. I probably said something like, "How many buyers could you work with if it had nothing to do with you? How many listings could you take on if it had nothing to do with you? How many homes could you sell if it had nothing to do with you?" And obviously, you're doing over 500 transactions every year, heading on your way to 1,000 transactions. So it can't depend on you. Plus, you're able to, now focus on the parts of it you really, really love. Hey, while I was shuffling around here, I'm doing my monthly newsletter. That's what I was proofing this morning before we got started. And I've been writing this newsletter, Nathan, now since June of 1995. We haven't missed a month. And as you and I were talking here about the mistakes that you've made during the last 19 years, there's a quote in my newsletter this month, and it says, "Only a fool learns from his own mistakes. The wise man learns from the mistakes of others." And that's a quote by Otto von Bismarck, whoever that is. I guess he's someone famous, but it's in my newsletter. I don't know. Do you know who Otto von Bismarck is?
He was a good man.
He's a good man. But anyway, that's our goal here today. Is I want to tap into this learning experience. So you come to the conference, you've got the vision. Now you're going to go back home. You say to your dad, "Hey, I found the guy. Let's go do this." So what happens now?
So I made my dad the ISA, and I hired I was still selling, and I still sold all the way up to about 2013, 2014. But I hired a buyer's agent. I ran and got the listings, and she ran with the buyers. That was my first hire, Lori. She was actually the secretary at the Remax that I was working at the time, and I brought her in, got her licensed, and she became my buyer's agent. And we worked well for a number of years together.
And so what happened just after that one hire? What happened to your production, number of hours worked? You saw an improvement?
I think we went to 75 transactions that first year.
So even after like one hire, you started to see positive results. I'm making more, I'm working less.
Yes. I mean, I'll be honest with everybody out there. Building a team is hard. It's not easy. It was 10 years of building the team, and maybe because I'm slower, but it took me really 10 years of putting everything into it, selling, running the team, a lot of stress, a lot of things like that, learning to really, before it became fruitful, that you could sit back and watch the machine actually work. And there's still growing pains that we have.
Well, look, everyone listening or watching to Nathan and I right now, if you have a team, you're growing your team. Nathan, we've all had those days, right? Where we're like, "Oh my God, is this worth it? This is so hard." You remember me talking about, I had this placard on my desk and it said, "What is your option?" And every time I would have those feelings like, "Oh, it's this whole team building. It's so hard to get people and train people. And maybe it'd be easier if I decide just to go small again, be a solo agent, or just have a couple of people around me, and maybe it'll be easier." But I would look at that placard that said, "What's your option?" Because I knew that for me, that wasn't a good option, because I didn't want to go back to being a control freak and working 7 days a week. All right. So let's talk about your next hire. So we've talked about your first hire. Business goes up, you start to work less. Then you make the decision to expand again.
So we were, at that point, we were making money now, so I could bring somebody on. My wife was working for an attorney at the time, and we were using her income to do that. But it became to the point where we started hitting those numbers that we could bring on somebody else. We didn't need Jamie. I didn't need Jamie's income to survive. That we could bring her in and help build the company, and that was instrumental. Jamie, when Jamie came on, we really started to kick it into high gear of being able to hire more and grow more, where I had now somebody watching, entering the listings. Jamie did everything from enter the listings, taking the photos, sticking signs in the front lawn, where I could focus on going to get listings, the marketing, the ISA department. I was wearing all those hats. And from that point, we could start taking hats off and giving them to other people.
Okay, a couple comments I want to make on that. So first of all, when your wife quits her well-paying job and comes to work with you, you're kind of all in on this now, right? Because you don't have that other income. And for anyone that has like a family member, a spouse, a close right-hand person, that really is a game changer. As you know, my wife has worked with me for 24 years, I guess. And it's great to have somebody that really, has your back and they know your business. Like nobody really cares about your business like you and your spouse. So I'm going to say that was like a game changer move, right? And now, of course, the problem with that, Nathan, it's not duplicatable, right? It's like you can't have like 4 wives working for you. But okay, so now your wife, yeah, now your wife is working with you, and things really start to explode now, right? Because you can now focus on the things that you're really good at, because you've got this team of people taking away from you a lot of the time consuming stuff.
Mm-hmm. You could focus on, like, let's face it, the rainmaker position. You could focus on growing the department. If you're always stuck into do, where you never focus on getting more, growing the business, then you can always stay at some level. So the more that I could take hats off and give it to an employee or an agent, that would really free up my time to stop building the company. I wish I understood that more then that I understand that now.
So at this point, after your wife starts working with you, do you have how many licensed agents are on your team at this point?
So that would be it would still me, Lori, and Jamie, and I'm selling. So it's 2 agents, me and Lori. And
right. And how are you? Okay, so with 2 agents and your wife, so your wife is basically managing the office, taking care of running the show, all the admin stuff, and then how are you and the other agent dividing up the work? Like what are you doing, and what's the other agent doing?
I'm going after the listings. I'm going to listing presentations. I'm taking the listing appointments, and she's taking the buyers. And now we're doing 75 transactions. Jamie came out. We're now doing 100 transactions. And as I said, now we're really starting to cook with gas, as they say. It's time to really start hiring. And so we want to duplicate more, hiring more of the buyers' agents.
Well, I think a key point to mention is during this time period, you also became a real student of marketing. I mean, you now were generating so many leads that you got to that point where you and the other realtor on your team, you couldn't handle all the business. So expanding, I mean, it sounds crazy, right? For anybody, when you heard me first talk about that, Nathan, where I got to the point where I couldn't go out to all the listing appointments, it sounds ridiculous when you're not at that point yet, but it is a problem. Actually, it's more frustrating having too much business that you can't get to. I found personally more frustrating than not having enough business. So your hand was sort of forced at that point where you had to expand your team because you just couldn't handle all the incoming business.
Exactly. That's a good point. I've always been under that mantra, I guess, to say is, you hire out of necessity. You don't hire and hope to get the business after. We would always hire, that we'd have an overflow of business. We can't get to it. All right, we need to hire. I think a mistake is people do that the vice versa. And you bring people on and they dry up. There's not enough business for them. Learn how to market first. So you have an overflow of business.
Yeah. So in that regard, you were always chasing the marketing, right? You were cranking up your lead generation, bringing in all of this, the business and the leads, which I would think would make it way easier to recruit when you're able to demonstrate to other agents, licensed agents in Rhode Island, like, hey, come over and join me. You could actually say, look, I am going to fill your daytimer with leads and appointments. At this point, did you was it just outside sales agents? When did you go to hiring inside sales?
I hired my first inside sales agent there was about 3 of us. When I hit 3, maybe 4 agents, it was the first time I said, all right, I need somebody to help out with the overflow of business that we have. Now, remember, I was doing the listing appointments and I was the ISA. So I would brought in an ISA at that time, and they would listen to me. And that was probably, it's still to this day, ISA is the hardest position to hire for. I'll still say that today. I think
Sorry, just to explain to everybody, just in case they're not familiar with what an ISA is. I mean, those of you that have big teams get it, but I do have a lot of newer agents or solo agents. Like, what the hell is an ISA? What's he talking about?
The ISA's job is inside sales agent. OSA is what we call our realtors, is outside. They're going outside on appointments. The ISA's job is very simple, is to call the leads back that we generate and to book an appointment for the outside sales agent to go on. Very common practice in the industries outside of real estate. I think, Craig, you were the first ones to have ISAs. I think ISAs get more and more popular now. I hear people talk about them like they're new.
No, I did not invent inside sales agent. It existed, that position outside of real estate. I was just the first person in real estate to bring inside sales agents into the industries. Like a lot of what I did in the beginning, we're taking ideas that were normal or common outside of the real estate industry. And like the whole team concept, for example, is common outside of real estate. But at the time, 25 years ago, I was the first agent to actually have a team. Only brokers had agents. Real estate agents didn't have other agents working for them. Okay, now when you're recruiting for an inside sales agent or an outside sales agent, so sell me on this. I'm working somewhere in the Northeast. I'm in Rhode Island. I'm in Connecticut. I'm in Massachusetts. Why would I want to come and work with you? Like, why wouldn't I just be a solo agent, or why wouldn't I join someone else's team?
Biggest problem that agents have is finding the business. I have the opposite problem. I have too much business. I can't get to it. I need someone just to take my overflow of business. I'll set appointments up for you. You just show up, meet with sellers that are pre-qualified, buyers that are pre-qualified, looking to buy a property. I need you to meet with those and go show them houses and sell them a house.
Okay, so if I'm an outside sales agent and I join your team, so I don't have to worry about marketing, advertising, generating the leads. I don't have to worry about calling the leads and setting up the appointments. I really am just going from appointment to appointment to appointment, and I'm using your like certified listing presentation.
So I would give you the presentations, I'd give you the scripting, I'd give you the contracts, I'd give you everything, including the customers that want to meet with us. And they would meet with us on our time, not theirs, where we would set up an appointment based on when you're available, Craig, and you would meet with that buyer and then go show that buyer houses. And it'd be that simple, to the point where literally we'd have our team meetings on Tuesday and my OSAs would cry. There'd be tears saying, "Stop giving me so much business."
Can't quote all the. That sounds crazy, right? Like someone listening, watching this might be skeptical, but I'm telling you, this is the real deal. I would have outside sales agents come in, hair all over the place, saying, I can't do this. And I have to keep expanding my team to hire enough outside sales agents to handle the inflow of business that I was generating. So, that's step number one, is you got to get your marketing figured out, just like Nathan did. And then, the team is required. You don't go grow your team first and then figure out the marketing. That's doing it backwards. Okay, so if I'm an outside sales agent and I come and I work with Nathan, I'm going to net a lot of money because I don't have any expenses. So whatever I make basically is in my pocket. I don't pay. I'm not paying for any of the admin people. I'm not, I'm not paying for any of the advertising, the marketing, taking pictures, feature sheets, signage. Nathan takes care of all that. So if I make $100,000 a year, I get to keep it. It's right, like in my pocket, if that's what I get after my split. So that's very attractive. Now, tell me about the inside sales agent. Why would I want to be an inside sales agent versus an outside sales agent?
One of the biggest things at the inside sales agents, a lot of times we find people that were realtors in the past or they're current realtors, but they're just sick of working 7 days a week till 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night, never having any free time or be able to go on vacation. And we'd bring those realtors on and say, hey, listen, it's a 40-hour work week. You can make the same amount of money or more, and you truly don't have to be answering your phone at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. You just need to book appointments on these people that have raised their hands and said, hey, I'm looking to make a move. And
right. So you don't have to run around when it's raining or snowing from house to house to house. You're just going to work like kind of normal hours. We're going to give you the leads. There's no cold calling. We're going to train you on the script, and you're simply returning inquiries that the prospects made of you. So whether you're an inside sales agent or an outside sales agent on Nathan's team, we're trying to find people that are really good at that, right? So instead of trying to be good at everything, we're looking for very specific personality types to fill each one of these positions. So you said before we got started, once I had this vision, then I was in a big rush to hire people, and that's a mistake. So talk about, rushing to hire versus how it should be done.
Yeah, I was very, I don't want to say, I'd just say naive. I was young and I always would take people, and basically if you raised your hand or you could fog a mirror, I would hire you. And, you just take anybody that would come in and hire you no matter what they would say. And even people with things that would give you a gut check when you met the person, you knew something was off on this person. And, but you'd
still hire them anyway. So basically, if you could hire them, you were hiring them. And then you obviously had this epiphany that, hey, just because I can hire them doesn't mean I should.
Exactly. And I can't say a lot of the stories of what happens when you hire the wrong people, but it came to a problem where you'd be thinking about this person at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning. And you're like, why am I thinking of you at 1 o'clock in the morning?
It's not a good sign.
No.
Right.
And there was always trouble. But you just try, I thought I could change the people, maybe their sales practice or their morals or something like that. And you'd always end up with egg on your face, and they'd always leave you at the worst time or put you in a situation you didn't want to be put in. And to be honest with you, Craig, where I solved that problem was I really took myself out of the hiring process, and I found people that were better judges of character than me. And
that's good.
Inserted them with it, because my type of personality is I just want to help everybody, and I think I can make you better. And you know who that person was? It was Jamie. And Jamie, I hope she's not watching this, but she would tell me every single time, I told you so. I told you that was going to happen.
Yeah, I get the same thing from my wife. I don't know, maybe a better read of person, but yeah, my wife isn't often wrong when she said, when she says, hey, here's my thoughts on this. And I'm like, I disagree. And yeah, eventually she's usually proven right. Okay. So
I just want to say one thing. The problem with it was too, a lot of times was me. I get involved with it, and I would run one way, I'd hire you, and I'd run one way and be like, all right, you're done. See ya. And expect you to do it all. And it wasn't good follow-up on those processes there. So, all
right. So let's talk about that next then. So you just said you don't want to hire people and, run in different directions and say, hey, you're hired now, figure it out. The onboarding and training is critical. Talk about how that works when someone, like, if you hire somebody, you don't spend time with them and you don't train them, it's just definitely not going to work, even if they are the right person. So what happens if I was to start on your team today? What's that process?
So if you're going to start, the first thing that happens is we recruit you, we market you. You always will reach out to me to get the job. I'm not reaching out to you to get the job. Unfortunately, I just haven't had luck with that, Craig. We want the people asking for a job here. If you're changing the leverage and you're going to after them for a job, it's a totally different explanation. But we get them to respond with a direct response advertising. They respond to us. And we'll do a group interview. We'll bring them all in at the same time. We'll bring in 7, 8, 10 people at the same time in the conference room. And we'll do a process with you. We'll go over how our system works. We'll explain it all with them, how everything works, how we're going to give you the appointments, what the splits are. That's always a tough question. And we show them, here's how much you're going to make. And here's other agents on my team. Don't take it from me. Here's what they're making. And this is why they're with us, because they're making this money. And this is what they take home. And we know what they're taking home too, the people we're prospecting with. And 98% of the people we meet with, they want to join.
Right, because they're going to net more money and work less hours working as part of your team than continue to do what they're doing. And yeah, once you already have a couple of team members that are doing well, of course, there's your walking, talking testimonial right there. The hardest great person to hire is your first one, right? Because once you have one and they're making a lot of money, it's working well, you can always point to that person and say, see, he or she can do it, and so can you. Okay. The weekly meetings that you do, they're mandatory. You do these every week. Let's talk about the structure of those meetings and why that's important.
Oh yeah, we used to do kind of loose meetings, and we discovered that it was a lot of work going and trying to spread whatever had to be cascaded to the whole team. So our meetings now are 9:25. You need to be in your seat, and roll calls done at 9:25. If you're there at 9:26, you're not at the meeting. You're marked as absent. Now, all my employees, like everybody else, all my agents at 1099, meaning we can't tell them when they have to come to work, but you are required to come to the team meeting if you want to get appointments for that week, and you have to be on time. So they have to be there at 9:25. They're there at 9:25. Everybody's there, and we start off the appointment by going over the great news of what's happened last week. Any good news anybody wants to share? Shout out.
So you start off with all the wins.
All the wins, and then we work our way towards where we are on our goal of what our goal is that month, that year. Then we go over new listings, coming soon listings, so everybody on the team can share with their buyers, hey, here's some houses that are on the market. They'll be on the market in maybe 2 or 3 weeks, but tell your buyers about them now. Then we'll go over the losses, the missed opportunities. We'll look at, okay, hey, listen, we went on 50 listing appointments this week, and we got 40 of them. What happened to the 10 that we did not
Right.
get?
So sort of doing an autopsy. So you're starting with the positive, like here's what we did right, here are the wins. And then, okay, here's some areas of improvement, and you're trying to learn from these mistakes. Really, that's all we can do is, hey, what did we do right? And how can we duplicate that? And what did we do wrong? And how can we stop that from happening?
And we look at surveys also. We'll look at surveys from the customers and see how happy they are. And if there's a problem, what happened and what can we learn from it? And that's really where the power of the whole entire team is, to be honest with you. If you're a new agent coming on my team, you're going to learn in 1 year, in 12 months, hanging out with all the top 10% of agents in the state, which is every agent on my team, and the number of transactions you're going to do, you're going to learn in 12 months what would take you 120 months to learn, 10 years of information in 1 year. All these transactions you're going to do, all these offers, all this stuff, where most agents fail in 24 months because they don't have any training or education. These team meetings, this team structure is really where the growth of the agent's experiences and the customer service they provide to the clients.
Yeah, I think realtors need to understand when you join the Nathan Clark team, you're getting a mentor. You're getting to hang out with Nathan, his entire team, and you're not just given leads or appointments. It's a mentorship program and lifelong learning. Okay, so we're running out of time here soon. I want to ask you a couple more questions, though, Nathan. If I'm watching this and I'm in your marketplace, first of all, share with me your market area, because I want solo agents that are maybe looking for more, might be interested in growing your team. Where are they located, and how should they contact you?
Oh, that's very simple. So we handle Southern Massachusetts, and we're building more into Massachusetts, Eastern Connecticut, and all of Rhode Island. We handle, I would say, just to be easy, an hour around our office here in Smithfield. And there's an ideal market right there. If you're interested in joining the team, you want to hear what other people on the team have to say about working on the team, you can go to my website, which is www.sellmorehomesnow.info. That's sellmorehomesnow.info. And of course, you can always call me at 401-232-7661. But you get all the information right then and there. That's our market right there. We're always looking for talented people that are looking to grow and expand the horizon. And listen, I've realized that the biggest value you get on this team is by being able to hang out with other top producing agents. So you're actually busy selling houses, but you're making a rewarding income that you take home, more money than working at any other franchise out there. And you give me 20 minutes of your time, I can prove that to you. You'll be very happy here versus working at another franchise or something like that.
Who you hang out with really, really matters. I wrote a book, as you know, Nathan. It's called Death of the Traditional Real Estate Agent. And the premise of the book is that in the future, you're either going to grow your own real estate team. Okay, you're going to have your own real estate team, or you're going to join someone else's real estate team. We believe that that's the future of real estate. And you were featured in that book. You can buy the book on Amazon, Death of the Traditional Real Estate Agent. Now, I have a conference coming up this weekend, June 11th, 12th, and 13th, Nathan. And this is where it all started with you. Okay, this is where you met me for the very first time, where I painted the vision for you. And I would like you to say a few words about this 3-day training that is coming up this weekend, and why realtors should basically crawl over broken glass to attend. It's going to be virtual, of course, and you can register at craigproctorseminar.com. Tell us about the conference and why realtors should be there.
I could just speak for myself. I would not be here today if I didn't meet this man, Craig, if I didn't go to the conference. Trying to digest these things on YouTube or watching these live videos and nibbling around Facebook groups and stuff like that is good, but you're missing about 99% of the content from being able to actually immerse yourself into a conference and really be able to see the whole blueprint, right? You can see the blueprint, but somebody will walk you through each step of how to build a business. I didn't go to college. My last job before that was working on a cruise ship. So I can't say enough. It's been 14 years I've been with Craig, and I wouldn't say I wouldn't be able to be where I am today if it wasn't able to go into those conferences. But I think one thing, though, that is required of somebody that wants to do it is somebody that's hungry, somebody that really wants to be successful and will do whatever it takes to crawl over broken glass to do that. You have to have that desire. If you want to be successful, this is the blueprint to do it. I've personally been around for a while. I'm getting old in the Craig Proctor system here, long in the tooth, but I've seen more agents like myself come into this system selling 4 or 5, 6, 7 houses a year, come out netting $1 million a year, building a real system that's duplicatable, where you can have time with your family and watch your children grow up and really have a real business that you own, not something that you have to do 7 days a week forever. And I'm very happy that I went to it. I went to the first one. I was wowed. I was like, this is amazing. I would have never seen this if I stayed home. And if I made that wrong choice and did not see that ad on the back of realtor.com and did not go to that conference, Arizona, I would not be where I am today.
Thank you so much, Nathan. You can find the full agenda, everything you're going to learn at craigproctorseminar.com. I'm going to be interviewing agents like Nathan Clark. These are our top members from all over the United States and Canada. They're going to be sharing. Exactly what they do. Basically, an interview type situation like we've done here with Nathan, where my job is to kind of pull out what they do, how they did it, so you can copy. Remember, everything that you want to do in real estate is already successfully been done by Craig Proctor members like Nathan Clark. So you don't have to have a creative bone in your body. You don't have to figure out how to climb Mount Everest. Just get a guide. Get somebody like Nathan Clark who's been to the top of the mountain before. Learn the mistakes. That quote that's in my newsletter, I think that's a pretty good quote. Only a fool learns from his own mistakes. The wise man learns from the mistakes of others. So if you want to take a massive shortcut to success, come and join me this weekend. It's June 11th. It's Friday, June 11th, 12th, and 13th. We start at 10 a.m. Eastern time for 3 days. We'd love to have you there. Again, it's craigproctorseminar.com. Nathan Clark, you have been a great Craig Proctor member. You did the work. I might have give you the vision, but you're absolutely right. You certainly met me at the 50-yard line, and you did all the work. You had good days. You had bad days. You dedicated yourself to this, and you deserve all the success that you've had. And I know that the best years are before you. So thank you so much for doing this interview today. Nathan, give us your contact information one more time.
You can email me, nathan@nathanclarkteam.com. If you're interested in learning more about joining the team, check us out at www.sellmorehomesnow.info. And that's the best way to get a hold of me. Craig, and thank you very much for having me on here. I truly, everything I said is honest, and that's how I feel. And I thank you very much. Thank you and Catherine for all your hard work. Thank you for sharing all this information with us and changing so many people's life.
Thank you so much. Nathan Clark, top agent in Rhode Island.